Hello, welcome to American Dream Latin Souls. I'm Daniel Ortiz. Today we have a special edition of American Dream Latin Souls. We traditionally talk about entrepreneurship, and I introduce entrepreneurs who are achieving their American dream in business. I wanted to take this time to address an issue that affects 1 in 7 women, pregnant women in America, and Hispanics in particular, and that's perinatal depression. And today my guest is Susan Aguayo, and she is the founder of Kassy's Kause nonprofit organization. So welcome to our program.
Thank you so much, Daniel.
So perinatal depression, tell us about what that is. But before we get that, I want to ask you a little bit about your background, because this is an issue that has affected you personally and your family, and it's a tragedy, and we're very sorry for your loss. And I want to thank you for taking the time to take that situation to help others, and that is what Kassy's Kause is all about.
Yeah. Well, what perinatal depression is postpartum symptoms during pregnancy. We've come to find out that 20% of women actually suffer, that have been documented, of perinatal depression, but yet it's always pushed aside that it's hormonal, that it's normal, but to a point it is normal, to a point it's not, which can lead to a psychosis level that we hear about more of in postpartum depression. But postpartum starts during pregnancy.
Okay, so you have personal experience with this, and tell us about that and how this came to be.
Well, 3.5 years ago, actually 3 months short from being 4 years ago, I had a daughter who was recently married, both of them in college, young, in their 20s, and she got pregnant sooner than she expected. As exciting news as it was, it also came with a lot of debilitating pains of the nausea.
This is your daughter, Kassy?
That's her, yes. That's unfortunately, about 2 weeks before she unfortunately ended her life during this horrible situation of perinatal depression, which she was experiencing, which comes along with a lot of aches and pains, nausea, depression, anxiety, panic attacks. She felt so alone, not understanding what she was experiencing. I didn't experience it. Her 2 older sisters weren't experiencing. And something that's not really talked about, just told that it's normal by her doctor, but it was overlooked.
Okay. You said it affects 1 in 7 pregnant women in this country?
Yes, it does. 20% haven't documented, but I believe it's so much higher because of the stigma. We don't talk about depression during pregnancy, but because of what we're doing, we have women coming out of the woods and asking for help, and now expressing they understand what they went through and know that they can speak up.
Okay. So I want to get back to that and to the nonprofit organization that you founded in her name. So tell us a little bit about your background.
I'm a jack of different trades. I actually have
You have a different accent than most of us in New Mexico.
Yes, if you don't realize, I'm from New York.
Okay.
I was born in South America, but raised in New York.
And where in South America?
Peru.
Peru, okay.
I was in Peru. Born in Peru, 4 years old, came to the United States. And so I was raised in New York, been here 14 years, and obviously my accent's still there. I have an early childhood background. I also have a business and communication background. I managed my son in the acting industry.
So how did you come from New York to reside in New Mexico? You live in Rio Rancho, right?
Yes, I live in Rio Rancho. My husband's a retired police officer.
From New York?
Yes, from New York.
Okay.
Yeah. After the unfortunate September 11 situation, he was one of the responders afterwards and got hurt, and they retired him a little bit earlier. I would say it's a blessing in disguise. We were supposed to move to Florida, but look, here I am in New Mexico.
New Yorkers go to Florida for some reason, right?
They do.
Right, they don't think of going out west.
It's Virginia and Florida. That's where it's supposed to be.
Anything west of the Mississippi is like the moon, right?
Yes,
it's like going
it
out.
is. And you're going to laugh. I didn't even remember studying New Mexico until the word Roswell came about, and I said, oh, that's New Mexico.
Right.
I had people thinking I needed a passport to move out of here, and
right.
I said,
well, that's we talked about that in my documentary,
exactly.
Right?
They'll say things like, your kids don't speak Spanish. And I go, it's between Arizona and Texas. They'll be okay. So yeah, we moved out here, and I
had you been out here before? Did you?
No, we actually had 2003 or 4. We took a course trip with our children. We had 4 children at that time. To visit my sister who lived in Nevada, Las Vegas. And it was during the time that we knew they were going to retire him early. And he said, hey, how about moving out west? And we didn't want Utah or Colorado because it's the same thing as snow. within Arizona or Texas, because we knew it was very hot. And that's when New
It's
Mexico.
just right.
Yeah, no family or
It's a
anything.
Goldilocks state.
Yeah.
Just right.
Yeah, it's just right, exactly. Everything worked out perfect, cost of living, the schools, the culture.
And come on, the food.
And the food. I like just the food.
I know people that have moved here just for the food.
Just for the food, wow.
Yeah. And they retire because they gotta have that children.
Yeah, so you know,
Okay.
it's been you know quite a ride, quite educational.
And Kassy was how old when you moved here?
She at the time was 11 years old.
Oh, 11. So she
was a
grew
little
up
bit-
here
Yeah,
then.
she grew up
essentially.
here. Yeah, she grew up here. She did her middle school, high school, started college here, and then wound up applying, went to college in Pittsburgh University. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So she got married. She was.
Yeah, she was going to school out there. Her fiance was going to school at UNM. He was a football player for UNM Lobos, and then they decided he had a short time left to finish school. So she came back, finished the time there, came back. They got married, so he could finish up, and then she was going to go back and continue school.
Okay.
But you know, she had a surprise. Short time afterwards, she found out she was pregnant, and as I said, you know, it came at a time perfect, but yet not perfect because it wasn't in her plan. And I
Right.
think she was always very structural, very
Organized and everything.
very
according to plan,
organized. She was, unfortunately, sometimes I think she was too much of a perfectionist, always a high achiever. Her personality was the kind of person that she would always look at the big picture of things. You know,
And where?
Yeah.
And she is your youngest, oldest,
she
middle?
is my third.
Out of four.
Now it's 7.
You have 7 kids.
Yeah, I have
Oh,
7
okay,
children
okay.
now. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. All right.
So,
All right. So obviously you're probably thrilled that she was going to have a baby. Was that going to be your
oh
first
yeah.
grandchild?
No,
or-
that was going to be my. Let's see. We have.
You got to count them.
Yeah, I do because I have 5
Good
right
Catholic
now.
Hispanic family, right?
And I have number 6 later on today, who's
Okay.
due, and
Oh,
then number
wow.
7 would be in March. So let's
Okay.
see. We had. It would have been the 4th grandchild.
Fourth
Yeah.
grandchild. Okay. So you said that sometimes the symptoms aren't really recognizable. Tell us about that and how this came about. And was it a surprise to you?
It was because, you know, I mean, when she would come visit every Sunday, all my kiddos, they get together with their husbands or significant others. They would come to my house for dinner. That was the thing after church. Everybody come for dinner on Sundays, and we would see throughout the first month, 2 months. Right away, you know, she had nausea. Right away, she had insomnia. Right away, she was losing weight instead of gaining weight. And her doctor kept saying it's normal. She was healthy. She was young. To the eyes, she was this perfect young woman. Maybe being a little bit paranoid because of her pregnancy. But she could say, "Mom, there's something different. I just feel there's something wrong with me." And I said, "What do you mean?" She would compare to her sister. She would compare to my stories of my pregnancy. And I would say, "Well, everybody's different. You're okay, you know."
Was it a
Yeah.
physical thing that
It was
she
a
was talking
physical.
about?
Yeah, it was a physical only that I thought. I didn't know the emotional part. You know, her husband would say to me, "She's always crying for everything, you know, and she's fighting for everything." And I was like, "Yeah," I said, "You know, she's hormonal." But it wasn't until towards her 3rd or 4th month that we realized. Now we didn't know the signs were there, but if we would have been educated, then we would have known. You know, she didn't want to be alone. She would make comments. I wanted to feel normal. And then her husband shared with us, unfortunately, after she passed away, her phone, and in her phone was the Googling, the journaling of she felt she was having depression. But when she reached out to her doctors, they said that she was going to be okay.
Doctors didn't recognize the symptoms.
No, she actually Google was one of her best friends, which was kind of sad because we're a very close, tight family. We're a church-going family. You know, she had a church leader. She had her best friend. She had her grandmother. She had me.
She had a lot going for her.
And yet she felt so alone.
Wow.
I mean, such a sign of depression. You could be in a room with so many people and still feel alone. And she had a history of depression. So we didn't think that she could be experiencing it. We spoke to her, you know, the night before, unfortunately, she passed away. You know, she had been crying. You know, her husband said she's emotional. Please give her a call. And she just said, "Mom, I'm okay." I said, "You sure? You want to talk to me?" You know me. I said, "I'll find out if something's going on." She said, "Mom, I'm okay. I'll see you tomorrow after church." And instead, we got the call the next morning that she took her life.
Right.
And her husband found her.
Well, and that's a tragedy. I mean, you know, and to lose a child is got to be one of the worst things.
It's
So,
not the pattern you expect to imagine as you
right,
have children.
and then she was expecting, so that's
Oh yeah,
compounds it, you know.
she on her phone you see the plans she made with friends about the other friends who were expecting babies, uh, the best friends their kids were going to be,
Right.
the plans she made with dinner with I mean she has so many plans. You know, tell people this is how depression can be so sneaky and really just show up in your life without expecting it. It wasn't like she left a letter and said, well, you know, this is what I'm going to plan to do on this day.
It just happened.
It just snapped.
So, what's the distinction? I've heard of postnatal depression. That's when
Right.
women get depressed after the
Postpartum.
child.
Yeah,
Postpartum depression. Okay.
Yes. That's a 6 week checkup you get after you've had your baby because now your body has transitioned.
So, are these
from-
related, or is it
They
separate?
are related because
Okay.
actually postpartum starts during pregnancy, but in
Oh.
some levels, you know, the hormonal, you need the hormones to be able to have a healthy placenta for your baby to survive.
Is there a test
Yeah.
for that?
No, that's normal. That's normal. As for your postpartum checkup, it's a 6 weeks. After your 6 weeks, you do get a screening to see, you know, where you're at because now your body's transitioning from first from transitioning to being pregnant and transitioning to the baby being away from you. So your body has to go to the level of understanding that child's not inside you no more, and so it throws you off.
So then you normal.
Emotionally.
Okay. So you have taken this tragedy and used it as a vehicle to help others.
Yes.
And you founded a nonprofit organization, Kassy's Cause. Tell us about that.
Well, after the shock, I think I wasn't satisfied to understand in the beginning, you know, just saying, well, your child took her life. For me, it was something that we didn't even discuss the word suicide, I think, at home. I became a detective. You know, I started really researching, you know, where she was at, what was in her system, you know, when, what did the doctor say, and what were the results, and we saw the information on her Googling and in her journaling, so I reached out to the hospitals and doctors, you know, the OBGYN, and that's when I heard about perinatal, and I said, why is no one talking about it? No one knew
So there
what
was
to
no
say.
warning or no
No,
discussion. I mean, it
Nothing.
seems like it should be part of every
It should
doctor's intake or whatever
it should
they
be,
do, but it's not.
and it shouldn't be overlooked. I think doctors just take the word, you know, you're going to be okay, and the word emotional hormonal too lightly. Yet we have 20% of women, you know, experiencing this. So I decided
Now you said
to
it's
open it
20% that are reported, so it could be actually higher
Exactly.
because it could be underreported, right? Because people don't
Exactly.
talk about it.
The stigma, they won't talk about it. You know, for the women that reach out to us after we opened the nonprofit, their fear is CYFD getting involved because they sound like a bad mom. Their fear.
CUID, who,
CYFD, that's
what's,
the
for our
child,
audience,
youth, and
who's that?
child, youth,
Protective Services?
family services. Yeah, exactly. You know, their fear.
So they're concerned that
That's concerned. Yeah.
kids would be taken away.
Yeah, because they feel if they share that feeling, they feel they're going to be looked upon as a bad mom.
Okay.
The shame of why can't they be happy when someone says you're glowing, and they're thinking to themselves, well, I feel like
Yeah, the opposite of
hippo.
that.
You
Okay.
know?
All right, we're gonna take a short break, and we'll get back to you. So
Yeah, thank you.
we're gonna take a short break and hear from our sponsors, and we'll be back in a minute with American Dream Latin Souls. welcome back to American Dream Latin Souls. I'm Daniel Ortiz, and today my guest is Susan Aguayo, founder of Kassy's Kause. So when we left, we were talking about perinatal depression and how it affects women, and the fact that it's really, up to now, has not been part of the regular standard of care that pregnant women receive, right? So you want to go finish that thought?
Yeah, well, it's not mandatory. So it would be personal on a midwife or a doctor or even a nurse to say, okay, let me ask how you're doing, your 3 months, your 6 months in each trimester. But it's not mandatory. The only mandatory is after the 6 weeks after the child is born. And that's when the question is asked, how are you feeling? Is this thought come to your mind? And how are you adjusting to, the changes of having a baby now taking over your life every hour that you have to attend to. Yeah.
Okay. So you started Kassy's Kause, a nonprofit foundation, 501c3. And tell us, what is the mission of Kassy's Kause?
My mission, we have the short mission and the long mission. Our mission that we have for 2020 is to be able to have this through legislation, make it mandatory. Make it mandatory that women are able to speak up. So if they're being asked, how do you feel? Is it this way or that way? They'll speak. But if you don't ask them and all you're telling them, well, you look really great.
So you want to make it mandatory for physicians to ask the questions and to see if there's early
something
signs.
to be concerned because it's treatable. If you get treated while you're pregnant, there's no reason why you have to go miserable through your pregnancy and wait to, unfortunately, maybe go through postpartum depression.
Okay. So how does the nonprofit work in that regard? How do you, so you're seeking legislation? Okay.
And then our big five-year vision is to have a maternal mental health clinic affiliated with, an OBGYN office where women, if they're experiencing this perinatal depression, can get the treatment, through their pregnancy, along with their families, so they don't actually feel alone. Which we've come to really partner up as mentors.
I was going to ask you about the partnerships.
All
right. So for our audience members, how do they get information learn more about Kassy's Kause, your organization? And I'm going to segue into that a little later. You create a documentary film about this, about your daughter. So where do they look up information about Kassy's Kause?
Well, we have a website. We have www.kassyskause.org.
And Kause is with a K.
Yeah, reason why is because her nickname was KK.
Okay.
We called her KK, so we said, Kassy's Kause with a K. And so our documentary is called Kassy's Hope, My Life for Yours. Came about it last year. As I mentioned, little things I worked jack of different trades. I managed myself through the acting industry, so I kept in touch with people. I saw what was done in the background. And
so what gave you the idea to create a documentary film about Kassy?
I feel people are more visual. I could talk Tom Blue, and they could just see a mom, that's sad that she lost a daughter.
Okay.
But I think along with our organization, having the documentary, it gives us more leeway to be able to do presentations, which is what we have been doing at high schools, at hospitals.
So you presented this to different...
Okay, at visiting programs.
And people learn by storytelling, right? They learn, you're right, it's one thing to talk about it and to hear somebody talk, right?
And just the mom, and even though I could say, I'm the founder, but you're the mom.
Right. And you can only be so many places at one given time, so the documentary film, they can watch it on their...
Exactly.
Is it available for viewing now?
Well, currently right now, we have been just, presenting it at different areas,
So this is the poster?
The cover.
The cover?
That's the cover of our...
So it's called Kassy's Hope, My Life for Yours.
Yes.
Okay.
And so what we're going to be launching off, I call it next year, to finally start selling it as an educational tool to the hospitals and to the visiting programs with moms. But our goal is to also have it at a film festival to be able to really expand more than just locally in New Mexico.
Right. Okay. And so you have partnered with some hospitals and different institutes. Tell us about that and who's involved.
Right. A UNM hospital that has a perinatal department, but it's so small and it's so maxed out. We have no space to send women, which is why I said we need to have an addition to be able to help them. And Loveless, our labor of love. So not only are they in the documentary, I also do presentations with them along with being able to help other moms.
Okay, so you're doing educational outreach programs. Okay, great. So tell us about this poster behind here. So you have gotten some attention.
The production company that actually I worked with, which is Paloma Films from El Paso. When we finished filming, he became really more like family to me, and so he actually gave me this a gift. And here we have, what we used through our for our filming, and we also here in Tumbleweeds in Santa Fe. We were featured on Kassy's Cause article. And some of the filming pictures that we did.
All right, so you brought a trailer that in the industry is called a teaser trailer. It's like a 2-minute piece that talks about.
Before our official one, we had this one together because we did a comedy show. So we wanted to get people prepared that our trailer was coming up, our film was coming out. So we had different stuffs.
Okay, so we're gonna take a couple minutes here and take a look at the trailer for Kassy's Hope. Okay, so when will this documentary be released, and how can people view it?
We're launching it out next year because we, like I said, filmed this last year.
In 2019?
2019.
Okay. I don't know when this show is going to air, so early first quarter of 2019.
Yes, in the beginning, high quality, because we're set. You know what I mean?
And you're presenting this to film festivals?
Yeah, that's our goal, film festivals, because I think
across the country or. There's a lot of film festivals out there.
Yes, there is across country.
Right.
Yes,
I'm doing my own documentary, so I kind of did the research.
Yeah, we actually want to start here locally. I would love to hit New York because that's where we're from.
Okay.
And I know people out there, so I'm thinking.
And what genre would it be? Just general documentaries, or is there a specific category for?
I think the categories would be the health documentary in the health field.
Okay.
And obviously the new directors, because I directed and produced it, so I would like something, just those newcomers out there to be able to see.
And also be available on a DVD set?
Yeah, we have a DVD and a Blu-ray, so we have both. Yeah.
Okay, so people can also
download. They want a better picture.
Okay. And of course, again, if someone wanted to just find it directly, your website is?
www.kassyscause.org.
Okay, and it's Kassy's Cause with a K. .org.
KK, yeah.
Okay.
KK, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, who has been your mentors, through this process? I mean, because you started with no background in film production, and I have a little bit of idea what that's like.
Yeah.
And so, let me ask you first of all, why did you start to take this on your own? To do, because you produced this film yourself.
Yeah.
This documentary film yourself.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to ask you who your mentors are into this process.
Well, obviously, as I mentioned, why I felt I had to do this, because I think, again, visual, is very important. Two, as you said, it can be more than one place at one time. My mentor when I first started this, as for nonprofit background, was Marilyn Salzman. She actually is the president for NAMI, which is a National Alliance Mental Illness. It wound up, we bumped into each other under the crazy circumstances of an event, and found out what she did. She's from New York, I'm from New York, and then she took me under her wing.
So and she lived here?
She lives here in Rio Rancho, and so she pretty much helped me.
So she had two big undertakings. One is to create a nonprofit, which is not an easy thing to do. I've looked into it and have deferred.
Yeah.
And then create a documentary film. So you took on both those projects on your own.
Yeah. Then afterwards, it was about being able to say, okay.
And why would you set up a nonprofit? Why would you need to? I mean, was that just as a vehicle for education?
For me, the nonprofit meant I felt I had a wider opportunity to be able to reach out more to people, and it came about. I think throughout my networking, I've learned more through nonprofits, and NAMI, like I said, was one of the ones that really was my backbone when I really started this, and then continuing to the filming industry was because of my son, who's active for so many years. So I reached out to those who.
So you did have some exposure to the film industry. Your son is an actor?
Yeah, he's an actor, and he still is. So you could probably watch his one of his recent commercials. It's on for a whole month and a half.
Okay. So you have some like the behind the scenes, and you probably looked at it like I did with this show and said, well, how hard can it be, right?
Yeah, exactly. I said, how hard can it be? And realize it's 5 hours, cutting down to 2 hours, 2 hours to 1 hour.
Right. And the films is really in the editing. I mean, the show's different, of course, but. And I think part of, if your experience is like mine, and I'm filming a documentary as well, is that you know your vision, right? You know, you said you see it visually, so do I. And I don't know if that's across the industry standard. But so it's hard to kind of give someone else that vision because there's no way they can implement it the way you see it in your mind, right?
Right. Yeah, and that's the important part. Being able to partner up with people who respects your vision and can then collaborate with your vision. And that's why I said for me, Paloma Films, production has, not only did he know my son through one of the movies that he filmed when he was younger, but he also understood, what it is to lose a loved one. And he put his passion to my passion. And
so it was a good match.
It was a perfect match that really brought out the message we wanted to bring across, not just about a mom, but about we have actually doctors speaking about it on the film. We have a panel of women speaking about it, professionals, not only Hispanics. My big thing was showing it could be Caucasian, it could be Hispanics, it could be an Indian. We have
because it affects women across the board.
Of course, no one is immune to depression or perinatal postpartum.
Have they done studies? Does it affect certain cultures more or less?
We haven't had like the exact numbers, here in New Mexico. Just what in general the percentage that actually do get affected and sometimes get overlooked.
About 20%, you said.
Yeah, 20%. That's a large number. And I mean, we do talk about the baby blues after someone's had a baby, but when it's consistent, it's just not normal anymore. And it needs to be told women it's okay to speak up. That's what I want to be the voice for those unborn children. I want to be the voice for those moms that feel that they can't speak.
Yeah, and so you said there is a stigma for women who are feeling that, and when everybody's telling them that they're glowing and it's a happy, everybody's happy, and so they're feeling guilty because they're not feeling it.
They're not feeling it. I have women who say I didn't connect. One of the young women on our films who actually wrote the song for our film used her therapy of her talent, who's now doing her singles with her music. She says, I never connected to my pregnancy. I didn't connect for 2 years with my son after he was born. And, it really, really, for her, I felt it was time robbed away from what she could have gotten treatment for, and she didn't. Okay. And that's what I mean, the treatment is important.
Okay, we got a short time left. I'm going to ask you two questions. So what impact has this made already that you've seen throughout the community and changing minds with providers, healthcare providers?
Well, as I said, we want to take we want to take it to legislation to make it mandatory. But so far, people are doing it on their own. We have people who've pointed out to us that Presbyterian is doing it a little more.
You're talking about Presbyterian Hospital?
Yes, Presbyterian Hospital.
When you say doing it, what are they?
They're questioning women.
Okay,
I call it with the questions. UNM does it. Loveless does it. I think before
and they were not doing this before? Or?
No, because you concentrate so much on, is the baby doing okay? You physically look like you're healthy, you're gaining your weight, but no one's asking, how are you feeling? Emotionally, how are you feeling? And that's what we need to really open up more.
Okay. Well, and doctors, as you know, they're tend not to be feely people to begin with, right? What's that called, the bedside manner?
Yeah.
Or, it's kind of a
You're lucky when you get a good one, and that's the thing,
So that's kind of a training that they would have to go to just to. It's probably something they really don't want to deal with.
Yeah, I think it's not just about, okay, you're doing good the way you're doing good, Heiko, with your physical. Let's look at the inside. Let's look at the emotional part, because a lot more goes on there than we're allowed to speak about.
Okay. So we got just a minute left. What do you want our audience to know, people to know about Kassy, number one, and the cause and what you're trying to do?
I want people to look at her face and say, is that the look that you think is someone going through depression? We have a stigma of what depression looks like. Sometimes those.
So she didn't look.
She had no history, no. Just the point that she cried and she's pregnant. We're like, oh, it's hormonal. I mean, I want people to see that,
She's very happy there.
Yeah, that was just 2 weeks before she took her life. I mean, that's her husband took that picture. Her husband took that picture of her. I want people to realize that there's no particular look, and that, we need to really be more eye-open and more open ears to when a woman is pregnant, because we need to be more sensitive to their needs, not just the point that she's craving and that she's hormonal. It's more to that.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing your story, and I'm sure you're doing tremendous service to a lot of people, and you've taken what has been a tragedy, and you're making some use out of it. So we congratulate you for that.
Thank you.
All right, and again, it's Kassy's Cause. Susan Aguayo, thank you for joining us on
Thank
American
you so
Dream
much for your documentary too.
Latin Souls, and I thank our audience for joining us on this special edition of American Dream Latin Souls. Visit us online at latinosuccess.com.